One storyteller presents a story that burns with truth and drips with poetic justice. In a world where racism still hides behind picket fences and polite smiles, one black man becomes the target of hate simply for existing. He wasn't loud. He wasn't armed. He was just walking. Calm, proud, and unapologetically black. But when a pregnant woman with a superiority complex and a heart full of ignorance saw him, she didn't see a man. She saw a threat. With one vile word, she tried to erase his humanity. She thought he was nobody, just another stereotype to step over. But what she didn't know was that this man, this quiet, composed stranger, was a decorated Navy SEAL, a former federal intelligence operative, and a living weapon, trained by the best. And when the truth came out, when the world saw who he really was, it wasn't just shame she felt, it was fear. Because karma didn't come softly, it came with precision. This is the story of how one hateful word tried to break a man but only revealed the giant she never should have messed with. Welcome to A1 Storyteller, where real power walks in silence until it speaks. It was a quiet Saturday afternoon in the heart of a suburban neighborhood in Georgia. Spring was blooming. The trees danced lazily in the breeze and birds chirped above freshly mowed lawns. Children played hopscotch on the sidewalks. Couples jogged together, and life moved in slow, sunny strides. Marcus Jordan, a 32-year-old black man, was out for his daily walk. Clad in a gray athletic hoodie, black sweatpants, and earbuds tucked in, he was just trying to clear his mind. To the average person, Marcus looked like any other guy on a stroll. But Marcus wasn't just any man, not even close. He was tall, built like an athlete, but moved like someone trained to assess threats. Quiet, observant, calm. What people couldn't see was his past. Former U.S. intelligence officer, ex-NSA cyber analyst, fluent in 4 languages, and a multi-millionaire tech entrepreneur who had just sold his latest cybersecurity startup for $85 million. But Marcus wasn't flashy. He didn't need to be. As he turned down Willow Creek Lane, a cul-de-sac of pristine homes, white fences, and trimmed rose bushes, he noticed a young white woman standing near the sidewalk. She was visibly pregnant, maybe in her 3rd trimester, and fussing with her phone as her golden retriever tugged at the leash. As Marcus approached, he gave a polite nod. "Afternoon." She looked up, startled, and instinctively clutched her purse. Marcus, used to the reaction, kept walking. But then came the words. Venomous, loud, meant to cut. "Don't come near me, you..." "Hey..." He stopped cold. Time froze. The wind stopped. A child's basketball bounced down a driveway, unattended. Marcus turned his head slowly, not with rage, but with precision. His eyes narrowed. He studied her face. Shock, fear, entitlement, and something else. She wanted a scene. She thought her pregnancy made her untouchable. It didn't. The woman's voice had rung out louder than she expected, loud enough for others to hear. A few neighbors peeked through curtains. A teenager recording TikToks on the sidewalk stared in disbelief, cameras still rolling. An elderly couple walking their schnauzer stopped mid-step. "Say it again?" Marcus asked, calm as still water. "I said what I said," the woman snapped, emboldened by her growing audience. "You people don't belong here. This is a private community. I'm calling the police." Marcus's jaw tightened. "I didn't ask for your opinion. I was walking." Her dog barked furiously, sensing her agitation. She waved her phone like a badge. "You think I won't call?" "My husband is a deputy. You'll be sorry, thug." Marcus inhaled, deep, controlled. "Call them," he said. "I'll wait." 15 minutes later, a black and white cruiser rolled onto the block. The pregnant woman waved it down dramatically, clutching her belly for effect. Out stepped 2 white officers, Deputy Rick Thompson, mid-40s, crew-cut, mirrored shades, and his rookie partner, Officer Kylie Denton, a fresh graduate from the academy. "He harassed me," the woman cried. "He threatened my baby." Marcus didn't move, didn't speak, just stood, arms folded, watching the performance unfold like bad theater. "Sir, put your hands up," Rick barked, already unsnapping his holster. "No," Marcus replied. Rick stepped forward, hand on gun. That's a lawful order. Marcus pulled out his phone, clicked the side button, and started recording. Lawful order requires probable cause. What's yours? Kylie looked uncertain. Ma'am, what exactly did he do? He looked threatening. He walked near me. Kylie blinked. That's not a crime. But Rick was already in motion. He grabbed Marcus's arm, twisting it behind his back. The crowd gasped. The teenager with the phone? Still filming? Marcus didn't resist. But he didn't make it easy either. His training kicked in. Balance perfect. Posture strong. He leaned close to Rick and whispered, "You just made the biggest mistake of your career." Rick slapped the cuffs on Marcus, twisting harder than necessary. "You think you're above the law, boy." Marcus didn't flinch. "Search him," Rick growled, motioning to his partner. Kylie hesitated. "Rick, I think we need to slow down. We don't even know if he did anything wrong." Rick shot her a look. "Do your job." As Kylie stepped forward reluctantly, Marcus calmly spoke. "There's a slim card in my back pocket. Take it out." She reached in and pulled out a sleek black card. No numbers, just an embossed gold emblem. "What is this?" she asked. "Scan the chip." Kylie held her department-issued scanner over the chip. A notification popped up. Her eyes widened. She read the name aloud. Marcus Jordan, U.S., Department of Defense, Level 7 Clearance, Retired Intelligence, Cyber Ops. She blinked. "Wait, this can't be real." "It is," Marcus replied. Rick scoffed. "So what?" "Probably fake. Just another scammer with a fake badge." Kylie showed him the screen. The authentication seal blinked "Verified" in bold green letters. Rick stepped back. "What the?" Marcus looked directly at the pregnant woman, whose smug face had drained of all color. "I'm not just a black man walking through your neighborhood," Marcus said, voice like thunder wrapped in calm. "I helped write the code that keeps this country from collapsing. I've stopped international cyber attacks, uncovered moles within your own department. And now? Because you couldn't handle your racism. You're on camera violating a federal officer's civil rights." The crowd stirred. Someone whispered, "Oh my God!" Within the hour, the video was online. The teenager's upload hit 1 million views in just 4 hours. Twitter exploded. Marcus Jordan trended worldwide. Pregnant Karen arrests a black man for existing. And it backfires hard. He's not just any black man, he's a national security hero. TV crews swarmed Willow Creek. Protesters showed up holding signs that read, "I am Marcus Jordan," and "Existing while black is not a crime." Evening news anchors debated it on air. Some called the woman a symbol of white fragility. Others condemned the officers for racially profiling a man doing nothing wrong. Rick was suspended pending investigation. Kylie resigned. On live TV, and apologized to Marcus. And the woman? She was hiding inside her house, blinds shut, social media deleted, begging reporters to leave her alone. But it was far from over. A week later, Marcus held a press conference. Dressed in a tailored Navy suit, standing in front of the Department of Justice building in Atlanta, he stood before a sea of cameras. "I didn't want to be the face of another incident," he said. "I didn't ask for this attention, but what happened to me is a symptom of a much deeper issue. Racism isn't always a gun to your head. Sometimes it's a scream on a sidewalk from someone who thinks they're better than you, because of your skin, because of your silence." He paused. "Let this be clear. I'm not seeking vengeance. I want accountability and change." Reporters erupted into applause. He ended the press conference with an announcement. "I'm starting an initiative called Walk Free, a legal defense fund for black and brown individuals who've been wrongfully detained, harassed, or profiled, because walking while black shouldn't require credentials." 3 weeks later, the pregnant woman, now identified as Stephanie Miller, a 29-year-old housewife and self-proclaimed Christian conservative, finally broke her silence. On a streaming talk show, she sat awkwardly beside a host known for spin control. Tears welled in her eyes. "I didn't know who he was," she said, dabbing her cheeks. "I was scared." The host nodded. "Do you regret using that word?" Stephanie nodded slowly. "Yes. I was raised differently. I shouldn't have said it. I was hormonal and scared and—" The host cut her off. "You didn't just say it, you weaponized it. You used your whiteness, your pregnancy, and your husband's badge as a weapon. What do you say to the people who say you're a racist?" Stephanie's lip trembled. "I didn't mean it like that. I don't know." But the world wasn't buying it. Sponsorships she had through Instagram dropped her. Local businesses refused service. Her own HOA sent a notice threatening eviction for bringing unwanted media chaos. She reached out to Marcus for a private apology. He refused. One evening, Marcus visited his grandmother, who lived in a small, peaceful home near the river. They sat on the porch, sipping sweet tea under the golden sky. "You did the right thing," she told him. Marcus nodded. "Sometimes I wonder if it even matters. Nothing changes." She looked at him deeply. "You remember what I told you when you were little? Racism isn't your burden to fix, but it is your duty to expose." Marcus leaned back. "And what about forgiveness?" His grandmother smiled, eyes full of grace. "Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means freeing yourself from their chains." He breathed deeply. It was a rainy morning when Stephanie heard the knock. She hadn't left the house in days. Her husband had taken indefinite leave from the sheriff's department, and their marriage was straining under the pressure. She shuffled toward the door, nervous. He peeked through the blinds. It wasn't the press. It was a black woman, maybe in her 50s, dressed in a modest gray suit, holding a small leather binder. Stephanie opened the door cautiously. "Yes?" she asked, clutching her belly protectively. The woman smiled calmly. "Good morning. My name is Ms. Trina Coleman. I work with the Department of Justice. May I come in?" Stephanie hesitated. "Why? I'm here about Marcus Jordan." They sat at the kitchen table, a fresh pot of tea between them. The dog rested by Stephanie's feet. Trina opened the binder and pulled out a document. "This is the civil rights violation complaint Marcus filed. You're named." Stephanie's stomach twisted. I didn't mean to." Trina raised a hand. "I'm not here to judge you, but I need you to understand something. Marcus Jordan isn't just a man with credentials. He's part of a quiet legacy of unsung black patriots. He's the kind of man who spent years dismantling threats you'll never hear about, and you tried to ruin him with a word." Stephanie looked down, eyes burning. Trina leaned in. "You want to know why Marcus didn't press charges for defamation or push for criminal prosecution?" Stephanie didn't respond. "Because he believes the court of public opinion will teach you more than any cell ever could." Meanwhile, Marcus was visiting an old mentor, General Samuel Brooks, retired 4-star and longtime friend of the family. They sat in the general's den, sipping bourbon under a wall lined with medals and photographs of dignitaries. "You handled that better than I would have," the general grunted. "Back in my day, something like that would have been swept under the rug or spun into a misunderstanding. You made them see it." Marcus nodded. "But it's not about me. This happens to someone else every day. They just don't have the badge or the platform." The general leaned forward. "So what now?" Marcus gave a small smile. "I'm going to buy the HOA." The general burst out laughing. "You serious?" Marcus grinned. "Dead serious." 3 months later, Willow Creek's HOA board gathered for a quarterly meeting. Residents shuffled in, unaware of the surprise awaiting them. The president, a snobbish man in his 60s named Carl Benson, began his opening remarks. "Let's move on to agenda item 4, new investor stake in our HOA property management group." The door opened. Marcus walked in, wearing a sharp charcoal suit. Carl froze. Murmurs swept across the room. "I am the new majority stakeholder," Marcus announced, placing documents on the table. "As of this morning, I've acquired 71% of Willow Creek's management shares, and there will be changes." Carl's face turned red. "You can't do that." "I did." Gasps filled the room. "I'm implementing a mandatory racial sensitivity and de-escalation training for all residents and staff. Discrimination will not be tolerated, and those who don't like it," Marcus smiled. "There's always the exit." Stephanie watched from the window, stunned. Marcus had not only walked free, he now owned the community that once turned its back on him. she felt something twist inside her. Guilt? Shame? Or fear that her baby might grow up in a world where actions had real consequences. She wrote a letter. A real one, handwritten, no cameras, no lawyers. Marcus, I can't undo what I said. I can't unring that bell. But I need you to know, I see it now. I see how wrong I was, not because of who you are professionally, but because you were a human being. I hope you can forgive me someday. Stephanie. She slid it under his office door. But Marcus never replied. Months passed, the heat died down, but the impact didn't fade. Marcus's Walk Free initiative had raised over $10 million in donations and freed 46 wrongly accused men and women by its third month. He'd been featured in Time magazine. Schools began inviting him to speak. But he never chased the spotlight. His mission was clear: protect, uplift, and expose. On the anniversary of the incident, he returned to the very sidewalk where it all started. A new plaque had been installed. It read, "Here stood a man who refused to bow to hate. His name was Marcus Jordan, and he walked free, so others could too." Chapter 15. The twist you didn't see coming. Back at his downtown Atlanta penthouse, Marcus sat alone one evening, flipping through an old photo album. There, tucked between photos of him in uniform, was a picture of a young white girl, maybe 8 years old, sitting beside him at a foster home picnic. He stared at it for a long moment. A name was scribbled on the back: Stephanie M. He shook his head, heart heavy with irony. They had grown up in the same system once, both forgotten, both displaced. He rose slowly, walked to his window and stared out at the glittering skyline. Same soil, different seeds. The Walk Free Gala was the largest civil rights event Atlanta had seen in years. Held at the Centennial Cultural Center, the Black Tie Affair brought together activists, lawmakers, celebrities, and survivors. People who had faced injustice and were finally being seen. Marcus, dressed in a sleek tuxedo with his signature calm demeanor, stood backstage reviewing his speech. But it wasn't nerves that gripped him, it was clarity. Tonight he wasn't speaking for himself. He was speaking for every person who had ever been silenced. Chapter 18. The speech that changed everything. He took the stage to thunderous applause. Cameras flashed. Live streams beamed to millions. Marcus stepped up to the podium and began. "A year ago, I was walking through a neighborhood where I had every legal and moral right to be. But someone didn't see a citizen. She saw a threat. Someone didn't hear a man, she heard a target. And someone didn't ask a question. She assumed an answer." That's what racism is, not just hatred, but certainty and ignorance. But I didn't fight back with fists, I fought back with facts. With calm, with truth, and I won. Not because I had power, but because I had restraint. He paused. "And now, I pass that power to you. Because justice shouldn't belong to the lucky few. It belongs to everyone brave enough to demand it." The crowd rose to their feet. Tears flowed, cheers erupted. In that moment, Marcus wasn't just a name on a trending hashtag. He was a movement. Far from the lights and applause, in a quiet maternity ward on the edge of town, Stephanie Miller gave birth to a baby girl. Her husband was there, worn and quiet, no cameras, no flowers, just guilt. Stephanie cradled her daughter, her face softer than it had been in months. The child's innocent eyes blinked up at her, unaware of the weight she had just inherited. Stephanie whispered to the baby, voice cracking, "I promise, I will raise you different. I'll teach you what I never learned. I'll make this right, even if the world never forgives me." But redemption isn't promised, it's earned. Weeks later, Stephanie mailed a donation to Walk Free, $20,000, from a family inheritance. It was returned, uncashed. Alongside it was a handwritten note from Marcus. "Redemption is not a transaction. You don't buy back the pain, you transform it into purpose. Quietly, daily, consistently. I wish your daughter a better world than the one you showed me." Stephanie held the note in her hands, tears streaming down her face. This wasn't a story where the villain was forgiven with a hug. This was real life. Months later, Marcus received an unusual call. It was from Officer Kylie Denton, the rookie cop who had hesitated at the scene. "I've been following your work. she said, "and I want to help." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "You quit the force?" "I did, but I joined something better, civil investigations. Internal Accountability Task Force. Quiet, boring, but honest. You were the reason I left. I couldn't be part of that system anymore." Marcus nodded slowly. "You ever consider working for Walk Free?" he asked. "I was hoping you'd ask. Remember the teen who filmed everything? His name was Deshaun Butler, a 17-year-old high school junior with dreams of being a filmmaker. After the video went viral, he was invited to New York, LA, and even sat down for a segment on The Daily Show. He stayed humble, still living in his mom's apartment, still editing with cracked software. One day, he got a package. Inside, a brand new camera, top-of-the-line editing software, and a note. "Your lens told the truth when others stayed silent. Keep telling it." Marcus Jordan? That moment? It changed Deshaun's life forever. Today, he runs his own production company, True Frame Studios, and mentors other young black creatives. Years later, Marcus returned to his old role, quietly behind the scenes. One night, he opened a hidden file deep in a secured NSA archive, labeled only Project. Mere inside was a detailed dossier. Not on Stephanie, not on Rick, but on a far-right extremist network that had infiltrated local law enforcement, including Stephanie's husband. Turns out Marcus had been tracking them for years, and his encounter with Stephanie, not an accident. It was part of an operation that had finally gone live. And that day, Marcus dropped the file onto the DOJ's encrypted mainframe with a single message. It started with a word. It ends with exposure, and that's the end of this chapter, but only the beginning of a movement. Marcus Jordan wasn't just a man caught in a storm. He was the storm. Calm, controlled, cataclysmic. He didn't just survive racism, he turned it into justice, into legacy, into truth. So the next time someone's silence tries to silence you, remember this story. Remember Marcus. Remember that walking with dignity is the greatest act of resistance. Here at A1 Storyteller, we don't just tell stories, we ignite revolutions. Until next time, keep walking bold, keep walking free.